No law in this video. I mentioned recently I went up to Copper Harbor and Calumet in the Upper Peninsula. I spoke in Calumet at a fundraiser for Big Annie, a hero of the strike of 1913. And while up there, of course, I went and visited a bunch of my favorite places, including here we are at the top of Brockway Mountain outside of Copper Harbor. Off in the distance there, you'll see Lake Fanny Ho, and I'm standing at the top of a very, very tall cliff. This is 1,320 feet above sea level, 720 feet above Lake Superior. That's Lake Medora right there. But we'll walk around in just a second and take a look at Lake Superior. Brockway Mountain Drive is a road that's put up and over Brockway Mountain back in 1933. It's part of, I believe, the WPA. And they also built these really cool little stone walls. These walls are all along the drive. It's about, I think, 8.5, almost 9 miles from one end to the other. Very scenic drive, routinely listed as among the most scenic drives you can do in America. So we're going to kind of walk around the edge here. And yeah, that's forest down there. Off in the distance, you can see things like Mount Houghton, named after, of course, Douglas Houghton, and a bunch of really cool lakes. There's actually a creek and a swamp down directly below us, but it's kind of hard to put this stuff in perspective, but you're looking down at the tops of very tall trees. And yes, this is the edge. I'm not so close that it's dangerous. Okay, I'm walking on a path where people do walk all the time, but yeah, you wouldn't want to make any mistakes out there. And interestingly enough, you can get a cell signal from up on top of this mountain here. I think there's a tower off in the distance down near the little town of Delaware. And I remember back in the early days of car phones, driving up here and going, hey, I've got a signal. And you don't have a signal as you approach, but as you get up on top of here, you do. So it's a great view. You walk around, you get a panoramic view of the whole tip of the Keweenaw Peninsula. Right now, I believe we're looking generally south. And then we're going to kind of walk over here. And as we turn, we'll be looking more towards the west. Off in the distance, you will see Eagle Harbor. Not Eagle River, but Eagle Harbor. And then we'll walk a little bit over here one more time to get a view. Like I said, you don't want to fall, but it is really cool. And of course, the mountain appears to be made up of that reddish-brown stone that you see so much of up in the area here. And one last panoramic shot here. And then we're going to wander over and take a look at the other side. Interestingly enough, as we walked around, I saw a big boat off in the distance, and my internet wasn't working on my phone terribly well because of the sketchy connection to the cell tower. So I sent my good friend Tom Spademan a note and said, Tom, there's a boat off in the distance. Can you look it up for me? And so he looked it up on Boat Nerd, I believe, and said, yes, Steve, that's the MV American Century, one of the big boats, 989 feet long, and it's cruising by. It's heading from east to west, probably towards Duluth. And then way off in the distance was another boat heading the other direction. And of course, that one was fully laden, as we would say, with iron ore heading east. It'll run down through the locks and then probably down through Lake Huron to Detroit or Toledo or someplace beyond. But that is the path that all that iron ore takes, passing by in those gigantic ships. And it's fun to watch them because they're just going by. It's a steady stream of them. Not all that big. They're not always this big, but these ones were. And Tom mentioned to me, I forgot the names of them, but there are a couple more big ones heading over to come up around the peninsula. Depends on the weather. Sometimes they take shelter to the east and south, a little bit of the tip of the peninsula if things get rough. But again, way off in the distance there, that's Eagle Harbor. And there's also a lake called Lake Bailey that you can see that's a little bit to the left there of Eagle Harbor. There's trails that go up and down here, and there's actually a lot of trails up here that have been cut in for mountain biking. These right here are footpaths that we're walking past, but there are mountain biking paths as well. So very, very cool, but there we go. That's the MV American Century out there, just cruising along, heading towards Duluth. So that's going to wrap it up. Hope you enjoyed it. If you ever get a chance here in Copper Harbor or the Keweenaw Peninsula, be sure to drive up and over Brockway Mountain. The drive itself is extremely cool, as you can see.